We've all been through some crazy times, and who knows what'll happen next. So, maybe you should prepare for the unexpected. With today's low mortgage rates and rising home values, why not refinance with Owning and pull tens of thousands out in cash? It's quick and easy. Just call 833-2-OWNING or go to owning.com. In minutes, Owning will tell you how much money you may have just sitting in your home's equity. You can then refi, pay off some debts, and put a big chunk of cash in the bank so you're ready for whatever comes next. No sweat. And do it now while Owning is still offering 30-year fixed refis with rates and APRs in the 2s.
NMLS 2611, licensed by the Department of Financial Protection and Innovation under the California Residential Mortgage Lending Act, subject to credit approval. Call 833-852-6464 for terms and conditions.
Call 833-2-OWNING or owning.com. That's 833-2-OWNING or owning.com.
Odyssey now has hundreds of new exclusive music stations for you to discover your new summer soundtrack.
Get moving with worthy workouts for a cardio sesh fueled by today's top artists.
Hanging with your crew? Throw it back with Picnic Party for old school jams for your cookout.
Or sail away with Odyssey's new yacht rock station, Jugger Yacht.
There are hundreds of new exclusive stations to check out today.
For summer barbecues,
road trips,
or relaxing poolside.
For every mood, every interest, every passion. By Odyssey.
Here's the set for the long-haired lefty, and the pitch is cracked to deep left center field for Soto. This one way back, going toward the Phillies bullpen and gone into the Phillies bullpen. Soto hit it from where Romero just came. A 3-run shot, Soto's 12th of the year. And in the span of 4 batters, the Nationals have turned a 2-0 deficit into a 4-2 lead. A line smash home run for the Nationals right fielder, Juan Soto.
Grant and Danny on the Fan, wherever you're at, in and around D.C. Thanks for listening to 106.7. To our Richmond audience that joins us over these next 3 hours now, much appreciate all of you. Take us with you wherever you go all over the country with radio.com. We're presented by BetQL. Bet smarter, beat the books. Download the BetQL app today. Visit BetQL.com. Right now on the BetQL guest hotline, Jeff Passan, who is the best baseball writer in the country and who wrote an incredible story on Juan Soto this past week. Jeff, I haven't cut out an actual paper copy of a story and hung it on my refrigerator in a while. This one made me want to, though, man. That was quite a piece on Soto. How much time did you spend with him and around him, and take us inside some of the reporting, if you would?
First off, I'm so glad that you guys got the radio call of the home run off Romero, because that is my favorite part of the story. Like, I haven't spent a ton of time around Juan before this. I saw him in the clubhouse during the World Series run, but with Rendon and with Turner and with Scherzer and with Strasburg and with so many guys there, it's almost like he flew under the radar. As good as he was, he's still just 20 years old. We met up, it was, I think, 2 weeks ago tomorrow, and did a photo shoot that took a few hours, and we sat down for probably 90 minutes, and Enrique Rojas was there as well to do a piece in Spanish. And I think what struck me about him was the way, and I tried to find this balance in the story, is the way that he's an incredibly nice, polite, seemingly very good human being, and just a total douche in the batter's box. And I say that with all of the kindness that I can possibly muster. But if you're facing Juan Soto and you're a pitcher, there is no worse thing I can imagine in the world, because he just stands there like he owns the thing, and you as a pitcher want to defeat him, and he's just better than you. Like that's what guys, I think, more and more are coming to terms with, the fact that he's just better.
Jeff, we've done this dance before where a kid comes up and is just electric and is awesome kind of in a short sample, and we do the historical things, right? This is Tony Conigliaro. This is Mickey Mantle. This is Ted Williams and stuff. And fans are reticent to sort of embrace that sort of thing, right? Where we go, no, please understand what we're seeing. This is incredible. Because guys have petered out. There have been injuries. There's been a million things in between. This one does feel different, though. And I know it's a little bit boy who cried wolf, but if you could go into that insight a little bit, maybe double down on it here. Why is this one different?
I don't know that this one is different. And let me explain that to you. I think Tony Conigliaro is the one who's different. When you look back historically at guys who produce at the rate that Juan Soto has through age 21, it's like a list of Hall of Famers. The ones who don't wind up being great, incredible, multiple standard deviations beyond average, those guys are the ones who are the outliers. You go and look at his peers, his comps, they're some of the best players in history. They're guys who are doing things at that age and who are capable of doing things at that age in the big leagues tend to be great baseball players. And you can argue convincingly that Tony Conigliaro would have been that if he hadn't gotten hit in the eye. So I think that with Juan Soto, yeah, of course, because he's young and because there are so many different things that can happen, you have to be careful about saying, this guy is going to be like as a certainty. But man, when I called him the best hitter in baseball earlier this week, everybody who loves Mike Trout came out and said, "Did Mike Trout die?" and my response was, Mike Trout remains the best player in Major League Baseball and will be so until somebody takes that title from him. I look at what Juan Soto has done over the course of his 3 years, and especially last year, and I understand it was a small sample last year, but everything he's got leads me to believe that right now he is a better hitter than Mike Trout. And again, that is no insult to Mike Trout, who's the second best player I've ever seen. And when it's all said and done, has a chance to go down as the best player that I've ever seen personally. Barry Bonds is that guy right now. And that's some pretty good company for Mike Trout. But, when I say Juan Soto is the best hitter in baseball, I don't do so because he hit 351 last year and got on base at a 490 clip and slugged 695. I do so because the fundamentals that allowed him to put up those numbers have not disappeared or gone away. If anything, they've gotten better.
Yeah, and you look at the walks, which dwarfed the strikeouts last year with his power.
Yep.
I mean, that just doesn't happen. They're just, even the great power hitters in the game today, they don't do that. 41 walks and 28 strikeouts in that sample. Jeff Passan of ESPN, you got to see this story, the feature story for ESPN.com that he put together on Soto. I think my favorite thing apart of it, we can go through some of the anecdotes of it, but the juxtaposition of this guy in the box. And in St. Louis, where I've done radio hits, where after the NLCS they hated this guy, or in Houston or wherever, and who he actually is. Like, Jeff, Danny and I did an interview with him one time, and it was shortly after he got to the big leagues as a 19-year-old, and he'd already learned English and spoke it confidently and was comfortable enough doing it to do the radio interview with us, which guys just don't do at that age. But he said, we asked him about, I think at the time he had played like every day for a few months in a row, and Danny asked him something about having a day off. And he said, I'm tired of being poor. And he just talked about where he'd come from and his family. You just fall in love with this kid. But I thought you captured perfectly. He is the opposite of the guy you see in the batter's box. I think that's what I love so much.
Yeah. I mean, this story this anecdote didn't make the cut, but Kevin Long was talking about how his wife was at a hotel one time. And she was trying to get into a room and was having a really difficult time and was getting frustrated. And, when you're in a situation like that, you might lose your temper or, yell at somebody you don't want to. Right when she's about to do that, she feels a tap on her shoulder, and she turns around, and it's Juan Soto. And he says, "Is everything okay, Mrs. Long?" And the fact that he calls her Mrs. is perfect because of course he does. But she told Kevin Long, I saw Juan and I saw him asking that, and I said, yeah, everything is okay. and that calmed her down. And to see somebody as conscientious as that at the age he is, as thoughtful as that, it's just really rare. And the fact that, you brought it up earlier, he came to this country having taken English classes when he was 12 years old for a year, and then begged out of them because he told his mom that baseball players don't need to speak English. And she was like, yes, they do. And he's like, no, they just need to hit, which he figured out the hitting part. He learned very quickly that the English part was going to be pretty vital for him to fit in as well. And anybody, we take for granted because we speak it, how difficult the language English is to learn, especially as a second language. The fact that he did it in a year it's staggering. Just an unbelievable feat of effort and acumen and brain processing and everything that makes Juan Soto who he is.
Yeah, early on, he just ate fast food, just pointed at the number. And now, a year later, he's giving interviews with two pudgy idiots like Grant and I. Jeff Passan joins us here on Grant and Danny. And it's also funny to think of, Jeff, and I wanted to ask you about this. He only was brought to the big leagues that first year because Adam Eaton got hurt, Bryce Harper. No, I don't think Harper was hurt that year, but a bunch of guys were kind of banged up, and it was sort of, okay, I guess, he'll be down in Double-A for a little while. Everybody knew he was good, but nobody knew this. Right? It's just always so funny to think about. Like you mentioned Mike Trout as well. Everyone thought, hey, this guy's a first-round pick. Well, no one knew he was that. Otherwise, you stop what you're doing. You just take him first or second overall, whatever it is. But I guess the question I've got – go ahead, please.
You know what, though?
Please.
Here's the thing. I think when Mike Trout was drafted, not everybody knew what he was. I think it became pretty apparent quickly. Like that, after instructional league that year, there was a distinct buzz about, oh my God, how did we all miss this guy? And I think the moment they saw Juan Soto hitting, it was an, oh my God, how did we miss this guy in a similar vein? But the ability to transition to the big leagues as quickly as he did, let's remember, Mike Trout came up as a 19-year-old too and stunk. He was not good when he arrived in the big leagues. That first year he came up, he really struggled. And then, of course, came up, played 140 games the next year and should have been the MVP at 20 years old. And that was our introduction to, oh, good Lord, what have we got here? I think Juan Soto was probably the closest thing to that, except from the moment he arrived. I mean, literally his first start, Robbie Erlin gives him a fastball middle away, and Soto absolutely destroys it to the opposite field. And you saw right there that this is rare power, that this is rare poise, and that ultimately this was going to be rare performance.
Must-read story from Jeff Passan at ESPN joining us on Grant and Danny. I'm not nearly as bullish on the team this year as I am on Juan Soto. I'm hopeful that they can make the playoffs here in D.C., but the Mets have gotten better. The Braves have won 3 straight division titles, and nobody seems to care when they do their predictions. Even the Phillies should be over 500. How do you see the NL East and the Nats this season going into the year?
I am less bullish on the Phillies than you are.
Okay.
Hold on one second. I have a child who's injured here, and he's asking me to help. I'm on the radio, and you're asking me to help?
You're talking to – there's 4 combined children between the two of us. We've been doing home shows for a year, so we get it.
No, I mean, we were worried he really jacked up his knee yesterday, and we just got a little bit of good news from the doctor. But now he's hobbling around on crutches and saying, help, help. But has this smirk on his face like, I just took you away from what you're doing right now, you sucker. I am less bearish on the Phillies. I'm sorry, I don't buy them. I still don't buy them. I don't think they're any better than they were last year. I don't think their bullpen's a lot better. I know Jose Alvarado's looked great this spring. I don't know about Archie Bradley long term as the closer there. The Nats confuse me. The Nats top end guys are not as good as it gets, but pretty close. Look, they've still got Max Scherzer at the top of the rotation. They've still got Steven Strasburg. They've still got Patrick Corbin. They've still got Trey Turner. They've still got Juan Soto. Josh Bell has looked fantastic this spring. Kyle Schwarber's looked a whole lot better. Like, there's enough there to get excited about. But, like, the Carter Kieboom thing is frustrating. And, you just wonder if the depth is going to be sufficient to keep them there with a team like the Braves, who I think are spectacular. And to me, I think the Atlanta Braves might be the second best team in baseball. Like, that's how good I think they are. You know, they had the Dodgers on the cusp last year, guys. They were up 3-1 in the NLCS, and that's a team without Charlie Morton and without Drew Smyly and without Mike Soroka. Like, they're going to be better this year. And the Mets are an improved team as well. Like, it's tough sledding when you have the Padres in the National League as well, to envision winning one of those wild card spots. And if the Nats get to the playoffs this year, it is going to be on the backs of those stars that they do have.
Jeff, really appreciate it, man. It's great work. It's an awesome profile of Juan Soto, and awesome with us. Go deal with that injured child, buddy. Thank you.
All right, boys. Thanks for having me.
Thanks, Jeff.
Be well. Check out Jeff Passan at ESPN. I don't understand why people are not higher on the Braves. I'm with Passan.
Me neither.
3 straight years they've won this division. That's the team that I kind of have the dartboard of on the wall I throw the darts at. It's not the Mets. Now, the Mets are better, but unless I forgot something, Ronald Acuña's hitting at the top of the Braves order, and he's about to go 40 and 100 with 30 steals potentially. Legitimate MVP candidate. Ozzie Albies, when he's healthy, and I know he's banged up right now, but he is a guy that was scratched from Tuesday's Grapefruit League game with neck stiffness, but their hope is still that he's going to be ready for opening day. You got Freeman. They brought Ozuna back. Darno, Swanson, Riley, Christian Pache they brought up to start in center field. The Braves are good, and nobody seems to care.
And they got better. And this is the part that I don't get. They got better. I know the Mets got better, too. They certainly did. And they get Syndergaard back, and you add in Lindor, and Carrasco I know is going to be out for 6 weeks, but you presume that he's going to ultimately come back and be a force. Marcus Stroman opted out last year. He'll be back in. That's an innings eater, a guy that can be really effective. And then you got the best pitcher in the world at the top of that rotation. Their offense is going to be ridiculous. I think those two teams are going to battle it out. I think the Braves are the best team in the division. But people have them much lower. Like, you look at some of the zips and some of the mathematics that they churn out. The Mets, have a 91 over-under in some places. The Braves down at 88. The Nationals are at 81, just basically being just over 500. I don't quite get people being down on the Braves, who were excellent last year and are better this year. As for Jeff mentioned, you bring Soroka back, you add in Charlie Morton, who was, once he finally kind of got his arm in shape last year, his last 20 innings, I know it doesn't sound like a lot, but his last 20 innings, he was the same Charlie Morton that was awesome previously, throwing upper 90s with that nasty hammer. So I don't know, man. I don't know why people are counting the Braves out.
I disagree with Passan a little bit on the Phillies just because their lineup is really good. But his point on their pitching staff is well taken, and they don't have a rotation yet. They got Nola and Wheeler and pray for rain, basically. Zach Eflin, Matt Moore,
Right.
Chase Anderson, Vince Velasquez. So that doesn't look like a team that could go in 85 games, but I really like the lineup. They re-signed Real Muto,
He won some
Harper.
8-7 games.
Absolutely.
That group.
Hoskins is going to hit cleanup for them and have a big year. When he's back healthy, he's not going to be ready at the start of the season. Alec Boehm, I think, is the next big star in baseball. Their third baseman who can play the corner infield, either spot. He's going to hit over 280 with power this year, in my opinion. So I'm very, very high on their lineup this season. Why don't we do this? We weren't planning on taking calls on the division, but we're 2 days from opening day. I'd love to open up the Gambit DC listener lines and touch the people and talk to some Nats fans who are getting ready for the start of the baseball season. In the NL East, which team worries you the most? Who do you think the Nats are chasing, so to speak, as a team projected to be second or third in the East? Is it the Braves, who are gunning for a 4th straight division title? Is it the Mets, who have had a masterpiece of an offseason, who completely rebuilt their roster? Or does a team like the Phillies or the Marlins, who made the playoffs last year, still deserve more credit than they get? 800-636-1067 is the number on Grant and Danny.
We've all been through some crazy times, and who knows what'll happen next. So, maybe you should prepare for the unexpected. With today's low mortgage rates and rising home values, why not refinance with Owning and pull tens of thousands out in cash? It's quick and easy. Just call 833-2-OWNING or go to owning.com. In minutes, Owning will tell you how much money you may have just sitting in your home's equity. You can then refi, pay off some debts, and put a big chunk of cash in the bank so you're ready for whatever comes next. No sweat. And do it now while Owning is still offering 30-year fixed refis with rates and APRs in the 2s.
NMLS 2611, licensed by the Department of Financial Protection and Innovation under the California Residential Mortgage Lending Act, subject to credit approval. Call 833-852-6464 for terms and conditions.
Call 833-2-OWNING or owning.com. That's 833-2-OWNING or owning.com.
Lindor sends one to right field. Looking back, Kepler, and that one is gone. Second home run in the early part of the campaign for Francisco Lindor. A 2-run shot puts the Indians in front.
I wish Francisco Lindor was still hitting home runs for Cleveland. He's not, though. His home runs will be coming as the starting shortstop of the New York Mets now. Welcome back, Grant and Danny on the Fan. Talking Nats baseball 2 days ahead of opening day. If you're restarting your business, PVI helps you get back to work safely. Visit them online at pvi.com today. Fast, excellent, affordable business regrows with PVI. They sponsor all of our Nationals discussions, and this is the opening week of the season. Question we're asking you at 800-636-1067, which team do you think is going to put up the biggest fight in the National League East? If the Nats are gunning for the top of the division at the end of the year, who are they going to be battling with? Let's go to Jim in Silver Spring on line 1 to get started. Jim, thanks for the call. Happy opening week, sir.
Oh, thank you. By the way, we spoke a couple of weeks ago. I'm a Nats fanatic, go to all the games. I'm a Baseball America baseball prospectus guy.
Nice.
And my comment at the time was, if they don't sign Maikel Frankel or somebody else to play third base, I'm going to lose my mind. And so here we are with, Carter Kieboom has been exiled, and we got Mercer and Perez as bench guys. So my other comment was, by the way, I think the Braves, I agree, they're very formidable, the best team in the East. If those young starters hold up, they may be the second best team in baseball. I have two specific questions because I really respect you all. The second one, I'll give you first. The second one is, do you have any status update on the MLB amateur draft, which is normally held in January? They had yet to determine what order teams were going to draft in. Like, in other words, they might not just go just on 2021 records. That's the smaller question. The bigger question is, do you think that the learners will get up off their wallet if they have to make some moves here pretty quick to shore up the second base, third base issue and the bench issue? Thanks a lot. Appreciate your all you all do in the baseball community. Thank you.
Thank you, buddy. I get steamed up for a baseball nerd calling the show.
How about it, right?
Can I flex my minors and majors muscles a little bit here, Danny?
Go ahead.
My Sunday morning MLB Network national show that I do.
Unique New York.
Ow now, Brown Cow. They have indeed established the draft order for this season, and the good news is that it is going to reflect the standings for the most part this coming year. So that is first and foremost number one. I think, if you're curious, Kumar Rocker still goes one to the Pirates, but Jack Leiter, who's thrown 16 straight no-hit innings from Vanderbilt, is trying to have something to say about that.
Couple of teammates, by the way, right up at the top who are nasty.
Ridiculous. Jack Leiter threw a no-hitter 2 starts ago, 9 innings. Was actually a perfect game after a 3-2 walk to the opening batter. And then in his next start, which was going into this weekend, got taken out after 7 no-hit innings. So he was flirting with Johnny Vandermeer trying to go back-to-back no-hitters. The Nationals, in case you're curious, have the 11th pick in the draft this year, which is the highest they've picked in a long, long time. You can tackle the second question if you'd like to.
I forgot what the second question was. Oh, yeah, it's going to be about about will they go sign somebody. My guess is no, to be honest with you. They have been, just talking about the Nationals, reluctant to, once the group is sort of established, right? Remember a couple of years ago, I can't remember who it was. It may have even been Gerardo Parra, who they ultimately did acquire. But there was some outfielder that Mike Rizzo was like, hey, can I have like $1 million real quick to just go make this deal work and get an outfielder? And the answer was no. I mean, we heard that story. That anecdote kind of came out. So my bet is that they don't do that. And they still haven't given up on Kieboom. And they're going to say, hey, this is a short-term thing. We can play Josh Harrison for the short term. We can have Castro at third for the short term. We still think Carter Kieboom is going to figure it out and come up and do it. We still think Luis Garcia can come up and do it, right? Somewhere they're going to get another infielder from their own system to come up and be an everyday guy at some point. They've had some success developing position guys here, and I think they're going to stay the course on that front.
This could still work for them, this Harrison at second base thing. But here's what has to happen. I can get by for an extended period of time with Josh Harrison batting eighth and hitting around 250 with a little bit of power. If, number one, he plays really good defense. Because if you're not going to hit a lot, I need you to play great defense. But on top of that, it becomes that much more important now that Victor Robles has a good season.
Mm-hmm.
It becomes that much more significant that Soto is the great player we just talked about him being with Jeff Passan, that Trey Turner, he doesn't have to be the MVP that he was last year, but he's got to go out and steal 30 bases and hit 25 homers and hit over 290 and have an 850 OPS. You need Josh Bell to give you around 25 to 30 home runs. You need Schwarber to give you over 30 home runs. You need Ryan Zimmerman when he plays to hit and drive in runs. Because you can't have a bunch of guys not playing well while you've got a hole now in your everyday lineup. Harrison is a bench player being forced onto the opening day lineup. And the one guy I didn't name is Starlin Castro. You need Castro to drive the baseball. You need to be right about him. They signed him. He was playing okay early in a year that didn't matter last year, and then he got hurt. He needs to stay healthy, stay on the field, and be an impact contributor at third. Because you can't be underproducing at third base and underproducing at second base and have the pitching staff that you've got and still win baseball games.
Right.
Your pitching staff is good. It's not elite like it once was. Lester as a number 4 is fine. Joe Ross as a number 5 is fine. You're a little banged up in a much improved bullpen on paper. But this lineup is going to have to be sufficient. And so you can't go into the season with two spots where you're underproductive and back half the league in terms of what we're expecting, because it just puts too much on everyone else's plate.
I think that's a smart way to put it. If you have JT Realmuto, a plus hitting catcher, he's plus for any position, you can get away with having maybe one extra position that doesn't produce offensively. You can't have too many deficits. You can't have a center fielder striking out 200 times, hitting 225 like Robles, was on pace to do last year. You can't have a third baseman that can't do it, a second baseman that's a bench guy. And if the dominoes don't fall for Kyle Schwarber, that also could be a major factor. Now, more than half of your position guys simply just can't be plus offensive players. In this day and age, you can't do that. You can't win enough games. You win some because Trey Turner will do something special. Soto does something special a couple days a week. You'll get enough, when your aces are going strong. But the way you win 90-plus ball games is to get contributions up and down the lineup, and your stars carry you more often than they don't, but you need more as the lineup goes. You need more Adam Eaton's giving you a pesky at bat. You need more, Howie Kendrick coming through with a big hit, even though he's not Anthony Rendon and not a highly compensated superstar like Juan Soto. And the years that they've won 90-plus games, they've gotten that. And sometimes it's unexpected places. Sometimes Tyler Moore hits double-digit homers for you. Sometimes it's, Michael A. Taylor has a renaissance season that time for Dusty Baker. You need some of the depth to come through, and right now it doesn't look as strong as it has in the past.
Bill is listening on the Odyssey app, I believe. Bill in North Carolina. How are you?
What's up, Bill?
Hey, very well. Thanks, fellas, for having me on board. Baseball nerd number 2 here. So
good.
There we go.
More than welcome with us.
I had the fortune or misfortune of having to travel the country. I get to listen to a lot of sports shows, and you guys don't need me shining your shoes here, but you're about the best of the bunch. Really,
that's kind, buddy. Thank you.
Top-notch show, and I'm glad you're still on. To turn an old saying upside down, I see it as kind of in this division. Boy, this isn't the NFC East. I looked at the schedule the other day and almost had a heart attack. This is a tough road that the Nats have to play in, and I think it's sort of addition by subtraction by addition. The Mets and Braves look like they improved. The Braves, if anything, got a little bit better. It's hard to do, but they pulled it off. And the Mets looks like they won the offseason. So the thing that you can't have everything, and it's easy for me to be a closet GM here. I don't have a salary cap to mess with every day, but I kind of lament some of the pitching that left town, the Luzardos and the Dane Dunnings and all the rest of it. Looking back at it, maybe kept Brian Goodwin and made one of those trades a moot issue, but it's water over the dam now. But I see the oh God, it pains me to say this, but I see the Braves Closely behind the Mets. And maybe the Nats kind of fighting for a wild card, so they might have to go that route again. But
that's how I see it.
Yeah.
I don't think what you're saying, thanks
crazy.
for the call. I don't think what you're saying is unreasonable. I'm looking at the Mets around 92 wins. I think the Braves are around 90 wins. I think the Nats are around 85 wins. And the Phillies are maybe in the 82, 83 range. And I think the Marlins are in the 70s somewhere as the one team in the division that's sub 500. I mean, the reason I go Mets over Braves, I'm a huge proponent of the young pitching for Atlanta. You saw Max Fried come into his own, Giolito's former teammate at Harvard Westlake last year. I think Ian Anderson's going to win the National League Rookie of the Year award. And they've got other young arms still coming. Kyle Wright, former top 5 pick out of Vanderbilt. But the Mets actually have proven starters where the Braves have young starters they're hoping are good. Jacob deGrom, I think, is the best in the league. Marcus Stroman, back healthy this year, I think will have a good season. They brought in Taijuan Walker. They still have David Peterson. They're not necessarily as deep, perhaps, as they once were, but I think that their pitching is a little bit better than Atlanta's, and I think Francisco Lindor and Pete Alonso are going to have monster seasons with Michael Conforto. So that's where I'm at. I'm at Mets 1, Braves 2, Nats 3, and I think the Nats are very much scratching and clawing in the mix for a wild card at year's end. Remember, they made the playoffs as a wild card, Danny, the year they won the World Series.
Yeah, absolutely. And, the first 50 games notwithstanding, they were one of the top 2 or 3 teams in baseball after that for 110 games or so. I got it flipped. I actually think the Braves win the division, and I think it's very close. I think those two teams, the Braves and Mets, are going to be really duking it out. It's going to be what they do against the Phillies and, maybe the Marlins to some degree as they kind of play this unbalanced schedule. I like the Braves a little bit more. I think they get a shot in the arm with Morton and Drew Smyly, a guy that's got a pretty good whiff rate as a starting pitcher. Ian Anderson came on and looked the part last year. I like them a little bit more. I think both offenses are going to be juggernauts, but we're talking like a 94-93 type win total for both those teams. Wouldn't surprise me if either one of them wins it. I think the Nats really have their work cut out for them when it comes to keeping pace. And it starts on Thursday, man. These games, you cannot afford another. I mean, that 2019 story was so magical and wonderful. That's in the bank forever. That'll never change. I don't think you can afford that kind of start. I don't think you can afford even a less than great start in this division because I think it's going to be so tough top to bottom.
Totally. And what Jeff Passan said is true in my opinion, which is whoever comes out of this division is going to be in great shape come the playoffs. The Nats won the World Series 2 years ago. The Braves were up 3-1 in the LCS. Should have gotten to the World Series last year before caving to the Dodgers, who ended up winning the whole thing. But you're just so well tested. There's not a single other division in the sport where everyone is actually trying to win.
Yeah.
So the winner of this division is going to be in great shape come the postseason. Davies talked about with us. Mike Rizzo mentioned that when he was on with us. I think that's something that players on this team take a lot of pride in. And we should mention that Max Scherzer is going to be on the show in 2 days on opening day ahead of his nighttime start against the Mets. So make sure you're listening on Thursday. Our double play is next on Grant and Danny. We are going blitzing at 4 o'clock. When we get into the pro days of Alabama and Ohio State, Mac Jones and Justin Fields throwing for scouts today in the 4 o'clock hour on the Fan. Perfect day outside. Welcome back, Grant and Danny on the Fan, presented by BetQL. Bet smarter, beat the books. Download the BetQL app today. Visit BetQL.com. If you want to see the insane way that my dog takes naps, you got to check out Grant H. Paulson Instagram story that I posted. Have you seen the way Fiona's been napping the last few days, Danny?
I can't say that I have, my friend. Is she going inside that Nats pup tent thing?
Well,
what do you call it? The Nat cap, yeah.
She does occasionally go into the Nat cap. Her new move, though, is to have her back legs up, elevated on our fireplace, and then the rest of her body stretched out in front of her. So she's sloping basically downhill. Her head is about 1.5 feet lower than her legs, and she falls asleep.
Weird.
In the least comfortable way, in the least comfortable place imaginable. I don't know how dogs do it. But all dogs are strange like this. Dogs fall asleep in the most uncomfortable positions. It's crazy to me.
Dogs do a lot of things that are weird. They do for example, how, imagine if you did this as a human being. Like, exactly which side of the bed is yours, right? Right? You and your wife have established this, whether you talked about it or not, you have a side of the bed. Imagine if you were about to lay down, you just did several laps around the bed in a weird little circle, and then just kind of laid down, but where your butt can almost touch your face, and then you go to sleep.
Right.
That's the weirdest thing ever.
That's actually a dog move for the age. I might start doing that. I might actually start circling my bed like a shark circles a baby seal before I lay down. Why do we have to have assigned sides of the bed? I wonder if any couples just get in where they fit in. Like there's some days where they're on the left, some days where on the right. I realize now, if I laid down on the side of the bed near the door, my wife would wake me up and tell me I'm in the wrong spot.
What are you doing? Yeah, exactly. It's established. When couples first get together, it's an unspoken thing usually, but it gets established, and then it never changes. One of the things that I like to do when we go on vacation, and this is edgy. This is like, Darius, get the dump button ready. This is like legit type stuff. This is bad boy territory, okay? One of the things I like to do on vacation is change sides of the bed.
Ooh.
Right? Nasty, filthy type stuff. Smut.
You are
on
a
this
dirty
radio
boy.
program, right? You see what I'm saying? I like to do. I go, hey, let's take a vacation from everything, including what side of the bed you sleep on. Let's just have a new experience. Let's see what happens.
It's time for our double play. What's going on in our lives? Nothing to do with sports. DP sponsored by Mattress Warehouse. Free next day delivery. Setup available. All orders over $7.99. A 1-year price guarantee. Learn more at sleephappens.com.
Jeeps, I'll go first, my friend. As you guys know, you can probably hear the difference. There's no hissing or dropping of my Comrex unit because I'm here in studio. I'm doing it live. We're doing it live. I commuted into to work today, and we complain about a lot of stuff as human beings, just kind of our nature. Like the traffic stunk. It took an outrageous amount of time for me to get here, et cetera. Whatever. That's not the complaint. Here's what's the stopping and smelling the roses, so to speak, type moment that I had, though. We go along the tidal basin right by the Jefferson Memorial, right past the Lincoln Memorial, right by the Washington Monument for me to get down to work. I go Independence Avenue, and it's just so gorgeous. The cherry blossoms are out and in full bloom. It really is spectacular. It's just so beautiful. That little stretch right there where you're passing all these monuments that people come from all around the world to come and see, to come check out, right? Like it's Lincoln Memorial on your left, then it's World War II Memorial, then it's, before that, it's Martin Luther King is on the side, then the tidal basin, then it's the Jefferson, then it's the Washington Monument. Straight ahead is where all the Smithsonian stuff is. Then you kind of bear to the right, and it's just packed and teeming with people that are just so grateful to be outside because the weather's gorgeous. And the cherry blossoms kick all kinds of ass. And I know it's annoying to deal with all the looky-loos and like you can't move very fast because everyone's like crossing the road. Like everybody stops and looks and is taking their own Instagram pictures or whatever. But I'm telling you, it was gorgeous. I had a nice moment where I go, I know this traffic's annoying. I haven't really done anything other than like a small errand in a year. But this is really, really pretty. It's cool to live here. That's what I thought today.
All right, I got two things on that.
Go.
The first was that you said all around the world in a really emphatic way. And this is how my brain works. I started hearing Fly by Sugar Ray play in my head, and I haven't heard that song in 15 years probably.
Oh, he's like, all around the world, statues crumble. And he like can't really sing.
Correct.
And no one talks about it.
Nobody ever talks
No one talks
about
like
it.
I can't sing at all.
He
Like
can't
at all.
even sing a little bit.
What's his
all around the world.
Mark
It sounds
McGrath.
like a guy hanging out with his buddies playing video games.
Okay, Mark, you
trying
gotta hit
to
the
sing.
high note. He's like, all around the world. Like it hurts his throat. You're like, oh, it hurts me.
It hurts me to
Statues
listen.
crumble for me.
But if you go back, if you want to watch the film tonight of the show and listen to the audio, I think you said all around the world really happily or emphatically.
Yeah.
And it
sounded
gave
like
off
Mark
a vibe
McGrath.
of all around the world. And I heard that song.
Statues crumble. Who knows how long? Oh, that was a jam too, by the way.
Such a fire song at the
Imagine
time.
the one dude in the background.
That's number one. Number two, I don't even know if I should say this. I should actually table this. There are times where you're better off not admitting something so that people like you more. And I'm wondering if this is one of those times. Because there's nothing to be gained by me telling you how I actually feel. And all it's going to do is make people like me less.
I like where this is going. This is good.
Enough with the cherry blossoms.
Oh, no.
Enough already.
No. Grant.
I've got a cherry blossom tree in my neighborhood. I walked past it. It looks kind of similar to the ones that everyone posts from D.C. Enough already.
Guy.
I'm just telling you.
It's
sorry.
a plant.
It's a plant. It's a flower. It's cool, I guess. You know what's really cool? Other stuff that's going on. You just said People come from all around the world. Statues crumble for me. You said, all around the world. That's what you said, right?
I did say that, just like that. Yeah.
Don't do that. Don't come from all around the world to see this plant. Now, if you want to say that the Washington Monument is cool, it is. The U.S. Capitol, very romantic, cool thing to be out on the mall just checking things out. And if it adds to the aesthetic or it's a pretty time of year, I get it. I like to put my window down and it's beautiful outside and there's, in the fall, there's certain colors of leaves that I like. I understand the aesthetic. It's just too much. It's a little bit too much with the cherry blossoms and thousands of people wanting to go down and take the same picture. It's a lot for me. That's all.
How do you spell blossoms? Is it two S's? BLOSS. Yep. Are so special and unique. Everyone should come see them. I'm just doing the caption for my Instagram post here. Are so special and unique. Everyone should check them out. And I'm going to tag you at Humorous Danny. You can see it.
Yeah.
I took some great photos.
The good thing, did you actually take photos?
Hand to God, I did. I was stuck at the traffic light, so I'm just sitting there bored, and I took a couple pics.
Well, no, that's creative. You definitely should have done that.
Right.
Because no one else does that.
Well, I wasn't going to post them until I knew how much they mattered to you, right? I don't have any I'm always looking for content. I don't have any pictures of the food that I'm eating or a dog that's not special, so I need to figure something out to post. So this is nice. You
know what you should do,
What's
Danny, is you won't go to New York at Christmas time
and post
go post in front of the stupid big tree. This is so amazing. This tree is so cool, guys. I'm the only one that's going to post this picture.
You know what else I'm not going to do is do that thing where I get out of my car and I pretend that I'm pinching the Washington Monument because of the forced perspective. You know what I'm talking about? Where you just you put it right between your hands, like, look what I'm doing.
What about when you put your little pointer finger right at the top of it?
Yeah, like you're holding it like you're holding a field goal. Oh,
yeah.
Come on.
Julie says that you have the correct take, that DC cherry blossoms kick all kinds of butt. Listen, I know that this is just one of those things where my approval rating goes down. I get it. I could have kept it to myself. I want to be honest with you guys. I want you to accept me for me. If we're going to have a relationship here on the radio,
we have to be honest with each other. I'm with you on that. We have to be honest.
I gotta be me, and you gotta accept me for my flaws if we're going to do this radio relationship thing day in and day out here on the Fan as part of the Odyssey family, Danny.
It's about trust.
Odyssey family.
It's about trust.
Are you just ignoring that I keep saying we're in the Odyssey family?
Yeah, I just kind of don't know what to do. I don't know what I'm supposed to do. Like, should I keep coming to work? Do I still do the show at 2? All right. As long as they tell me to do that, I'm good to go. I'll just keep talking about sports.
But it's a new name. We're the Odyssey family now.
Yeah.
Anything else that you want to say about that?
I think you've covered it. That is the substantive change in our lives today. Oh, the amount of energy and the tizzy that people were in today, that we were all supposed to check in for this big announcement. You know what? I'm happy I'm back. I will say that. But it could have been an email.
I'm really happy to have a job. Yeah. That's what I'll say.
I'm thrilled about that.
The Beltway Blitz at 4 o'clock right here on Grant and Danny comes your way next.
Hey, Gary, how are things?
Things are great, but I crushed my mortgage payment with owning without even leaving my couch. I got a no closing cost refi at a great low rate, and owning did it all in less than 3 weeks. It was easy, no muss, no fuss.
Be like Gary. Call Owning at 855-5-OWNING and crush your mortgage payment with today's 15-year fixed refi at 1.99% rate and APR with no closing costs. None. Zero. Even if you've refinanced recently, call 855-5-OWNING and let us crush your monthly payment even more. That's 855-5-OWNING or log on to owning.com.
NMLS 2611, licensed by the Department of Financial Protection and Innovation under the California Residential Mortgage Lending Act, subject to credit approval. Call 833-852-6464 for terms and conditions.
You can crush it too with a 15-year fixed 1.99% rate and APR with absolutely no closing cost.